Hey everyone, I'm Meet. I lead the product team for ElastiCache and MemoryDB. Those are our fully managed Redis, Valkey, and Memcached database and caching services. Super excited to talk to Lionel today.
So first question, you've been in that position for a year and a half now. How is it? How is it going? What are you the most proud of?
I think it's been one of my favorite roles across my entire career, not just at AWS. And I think like someone had asked me this question when they were interviewing on the team, like what are you most proud of? What are you most excited about? And I'll give you like an anecdote. I asked around a bunch of different product managers and engineers, like how many of you at AWS get to work with, let's say, an open source community which has the likes of Google and Oracle and Netflix and Apple and pick your favorite, big name out there, and actually shape a product in the open versus kind of competing? And I asked around, I was like, oh, not really. Like, that's weird. Like, you talk to someone at Google, you talk to someone at Oracle, that's pretty cool. So I think that's the thing that gets me most excited is like you're actually shaping the direction of an open source project that is up and to the right with popularity just increasing over time. And I think today's event, like, we're at the Unlocked event here in Seattle, like hundreds and like people have shown up. I think the community is the thing that really gets me most excited. And
Yeah,
the
the power of the community is amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for leading this initiative, which is interesting because you're a product manager at AWS. I've been in that position in the past, but you're working with mostly open source projects. And as a product manager for AWS, you have to make money. You have to make commitments on revenue, targets, and so on. How do you manage that with open source projects?
Yeah, unfortunately, money still needs to be made, like you said. So my philosophy on this, and I think something I've seen it play out with projects like Postgres. So I think that's a good project that I like to model, and I like the team to kind of think about Postgres as one to keep in mind when we make some decisions is if an open source project is doing well, then the service that offers that open source offering will eventually do well. So it's essentially a flywheel. My philosophy is if Valkey wins, ElastiCache wins, right? So it's extremely important for me as a product manager to make sure that whatever AWS is doing also contributes to the Valkey community, the Valkey project, and grows the project and moves it forward through innovation. Because till the time we're doing that, the flywheel is going to start getting activated. And then till the time we make ElastiCache the best place to run Valkey, customers will come, right? The contrary to that would be, okay, ElastiCache is a great service. It's got a lot of awesome innovation, but there's not a lot of innovation in the Valkey project. Then customers will start looking for alternatives. They'll go look at other caching providers. And then it wouldn't matter how good ElastiCache is because the open source engine that it hosts is not growing, right? So I think it's extremely important for me to make sure Valkey as a project grows, and we spend a lot of our time both on the engineering and the product side there, and the flywheel gets activated. The other switch we did with our strategies, we also are open source first. So anytime we're incepting a feature that like full text search is a great example. We just launched it today, right? AWS engineers built full text search, obviously in partnership with Google, but it was one of the projects AWS led. We first built it into Valkey open source, and then we brought it into ElastiCache, right? So we're not like the strategy and the philosophies. Let's get things into Valkey core and Valkey modules and Valkey open source first, and then we'll bring them into our managed service. And by doing that, again, it's all about that flywheel.
Yeah. And so the value you're providing is about hosting the managed service, running the managed service, being able to support it, have those 3 a.m. calls when things go wrong.
Yeah. The biggest thing I like to say is like we're providing solid fundamentals. We're making sure if you're running a Valkey workload, you run it in ElastiCache, you get the best scale, the best reliability, the best security, and the best resiliency, right? Till the time you're getting this, it's all the boring stuff, right? Like this is not like the fanciest AI feature, if you must, but these are the fundamentals that really allow customers to put some of their biggest workloads on ElastiCache. And to top it off, we have serverless. We launched serverless in ElastiCache about 3 years ago. That's where we feel serverless Valkey, that's where we feel is our flagship product, because you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting all the innovation that's happening in the open source community. And with serverless, you're getting things like auto scale. You're getting things like zero operations. You don't actually have to worry about anything when you're doing serverless. You don't have to choose instances. You don't have to do any scaling. You just go create a cache. You start putting tons and tons of data into it. You start reading from it. We take care of everything. If something goes wrong, we literally do get paged at 3 a.m. often, and it's on to us to figure that out.
So I know it's one of the themes we have today, those 3 a.m. pages.
Yeah.
Is there any story you can share?
Oh my God. I have lots and lots of stories. There was one of the customers who had a misconfiguration with their customer managed keys, CMK keys. If you use AWS, you'll be aware that you have Amazon owned keys and you have customer managed keys.
Yeah, same keys.
So they were using the Amazon owned ones, and then they decided to switch it to customer managed CMK keys. And they followed the documentation. At least they thought they followed the documentation. Turns out they hadn't configured their keys the right way. It resulted in a full read and write outage. To them, it felt like, okay, the service is down. This is the service team's fault. So they obviously get their account team involved. It's Sev2. Sev2 is kind of the term we use for like a big operational issue specific to a customer at AWS. Engineers get paged, product managers get paged. We're like, what is happening? Because we hadn't seen this issue manifest before, because it was one of those weird edge cases. And we're like, wait, first of all, why are we not getting any traffic? Like, what's happening? We didn't know that it was due to the keys. And we're like, okay, everything seems to be functional on our side. Everything seems to be functional on the customer's application side. Like, what is going on? Then one of the engineers was like, wait, hold on. At 11 something, they changed their keys. And that might be causing it. And then, we're like, obviously on a call with the customer, it's kind of a war room situation. Like, did you guys do this? And they're like, yes, but it worked just fine for a few minutes before it stopped working. So we thought it could not have been related. I'm like, well, that's because your token had not expired yet. So when your token expiration hit and when it tried to reestablish the connection a few hours later, you started having read-write unavailability. So it was one of those weird things where if it would have happened right away, the customer would have rolled back. They would have seen it. But it happened a few hours later, once the token expiration hit.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night, they're tired, we're tired. We eventually figured this out. We did the rollback for them, and then obviously they were back up. But I remember that one distinctly because I was going on a 14-hour hike the next day in Washington State. The hike's called Enchantments. It's a beautiful hike. If you haven't done it, highly recommend it. And I was at a cabin with my now wife and a few friends, and we're like, okay, what do we do now? Like, do I still go on this hike on like 1 hour of sleep? And I still did it. But yeah, it's still there with me simply because it was the worst time for it to have happened. It was in the summer. But yeah.
Yeah, you learn by fire always. So
always, yeah.
Those are great stories. Thanks for sharing that.
And then we built some alarms to like notify us of these kind of actions.
Yeah, because that's how you learn and you build a better service.
Exactly.
I think you're coming from a database background.
Yep.
So now you're managing ElastiCache. ElastiCache, the frontier between databases and caches is becoming more and more blurry.
Yep.
Can you tell me what are the main differences you see, or is there actually no difference?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I strongly believe that the lines are getting blurry. If you remember, there used to be the whole like SQL and NoSQL databases, and then you started seeing SQL databases adding more and more non-relational support with things like graphs and BSON support and all time series and whatnot. And then the non-relational databases started adding SQL support for like SQL query language, and they're kind of meeting in the middle. I think the same thing is happening for databases and caching, right? Like databases are adding caching features because they want databases to be faster, and caching technologies like Redis, Valkey, Memcached, they're evolving how the underlying architecture looks to get closer to some of the databases. We like to call it the cache adjacent use cases. So it's not your true database, an OLTP database that a bank would use, right? But it's cache adjacent. I think we saw some presenters just at Unlock today talking about, okay, we use this for things like session stores and feature stores and leaderboards. And a lot of these workloads are not your traditional cache workload. That's not where you're putting a cache in front of a database to speed the damn thing up. It's like, oh, I am just using this for feature store by itself. And I'm using Valkey because it's fast and it's price performant. So I think we're seeing a lot of that, right? So I think coming from the databases world, we often get caught up in it's like, okay, what's a database, what's a cache? I think ultimately customers don't always see it that way. To them, it's like, this is a data access layer. I'm putting data in it, and I'm trying to get data out of it. Until that I'm able to do it in a performant manner at a price point that works for me, and my developers know the query language, then I'm just going to go use this technology.
Yeah.
It's often as simple as that.
That's the technology.
Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of cache adjacent use cases coming up more and more with time. I think semantic caching is a great example, which plays in the caching domain, but is evolving, let's say, a cache beyond just kind of a database cache.
Yeah, it's kind of a database.
Yeah.
All right. Meet, thank you so much for sharing your stories. Thank you
course.
for this interview, and thanks for being a speaker at Unlocked.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Super excited again to be here, and really, really love the community and what we all have built here.
Thank you.